Hello people, I am Jaby Koay, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hi guys.
We are looking at the trailer to The Verdict, State vs. Nanavati, the official trailer starring ManavKaul, ElliAvrRam, AngadBedi, and SumeetVyas.
Whoop, whoop.
And so this is from Alt Balaji. It's directed by Shah. If my name was Shah, this is not the time to make a joke, but if my name was Shah, I would be like, call me Shah, or Shah.
Shah. It's like a dance. Shah.
I'm not messing around. I would, if that was my name, I would definitely introduce myself like that. But anyway, Shah directed this. And so here we go. This is the disclaimer. This show is based on true events and facts and reference to plots, incidents, and people shall be made. Any diversion or error is completely unintentional. We do not intend to be disrespectful to Indian judiciary, Indian naval forces, community, religious sentiments, or beliefs of any person. So supposedly this is based on the same events as those portrayed in Rustam with Akshay Kumar. Here we go. Let's check this out.
I, Vijayalakshmi Pandit, do solemnly affirm.
First female governor of Maharashtra. तभी तुम्हें कहूँ चाय इतनी बढ़िया कैसे बनेगी?
Mrs. Nanavati, were you unfaithful to your husband? Were you sleeping with other men? How many times did you sleep with Prema Ahuja?
This is a mockery of the entire justice system.
मैं members of the jury से ये पूछना चाहूँ, अगर आप कमांडर की जगह होते और अगर आपकी वाइफ को प्रेम आहूजा जैसा प्लेबॉय बिला फुसलाकर अपने फायदे के लिए यूज करता, तो आप क्या करते?
उसने तुम्हारी वाइफ को फंसाया और तुमने अपनी वाइफ और अपने घर को बचाया। वो बेचारा देश को बचाने के लिए गया और ये साला सिंधी उसके बीबी के पीछे पड़ गया।
किसी का भी खून बोलेगा।
It's high time we make them believe that women are nobody's property.
9 members की जूरी में मैक्सिमम पारसीज होंगे।
जूरी में ज्यादा से ज्यादा हिंदू चाहिए और हो सके तो सिंधी।
पंडित जी, कमांडर नानावती को जेल के बजाय नेवल कस्टडी में रखा गया है। सरकार उन पर इतनी मेहरबान क्यों है?
देश का सेवा किया है, मेडल मिलेगा, इनाम मिलेगा। मर्डर किया है, सजा मिलेगी। He is a hero।
और मर्डरर नहीं।
I want Kavas Manavati hung till death.
सवाल सिर्फ प्रेम आहूजा का नहीं है। ये लोग हर सिंधी को निशाना बना रहे हैं। मिस्टर जेठमलानी, better shut up।
Guys, we are going to pull the strings here, and the puppets are going to dance in the court.
अब ये केस नहीं रहा।
Prepare for war.
What are you going to start with?
The rights of minorities.
Muslims.
No, women.
How many times has she slept with Prema Ahuja?
I'm sorry.
What the hell is this?
I'm just trying to save the image of my country.
From day one, we have portrayed Kavas to be Bhagwan Ram, जिसने प्रेम आहूजा जैसे रावण को मारा। और हमारे देश में लोग कभी अपने भगवान के अगेंस्ट नहीं जाते।
From Muslims in danger, the story was changed to Islam in danger, and Jinnah gets what he wants. And incidentally, I have also changed the story.
Wow. That was very different to Rustam, I think. Like,
That's a lot.
they added so many additional layers of conflict because you had the whole sexism thing. So it's like women coming forward and trying to assert their strength. And then the whole religious aspect I wasn't even aware of. That's so interesting.
The main thing drawing me into this is the fact that this story has already been told by someone else, and so now I'm seeing a different angle. I mean, we saw with Akshay Kumar, you know, the high caliber talent and whatnot, and so to see this, not to say that no one's high caliber here, wow, that came out wrong. So, not to say that that there's no one high caliber here. What I mean to say is, like, you've got the Bollywood interpretation, and then you
Right.
have this interpretation, right? And to me, that's always fascinating to see the different angles that people are sort of looking at this through. A classic example for Americans is Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. Those are movies that were made at the exact same time, and they're about the same exact story, and they each have their own interpretation of events from that time, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, obviously, that's a Western and whatever, like cowboy Western. And so this is a much more recent event. But still, to see it interpreted again fairly recently, you know, Rustam wasn't that long ago. It was
Like
3
years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then you have this, you know, just 3 years later. And so to see it even explored deeper on all the different levels, the different facets, the different angles going on, it feels like it's going to try to really tackle the subject matter in a way that Rustam did not. One of the things that immediately turned me off about Rustam, I'm sorry to those of you who love that movie, one of the things that immediately turned me off was the beginning 10 minutes where you have that very heroic Bollywood song of Rustam and, you know, he can do no wrong, or whatever. You know, basically making him out like a Jesus in the first 10 minutes when it's based on a true story and you want to be a little bit less biased when you're telling a story like that, especially a court story where it's the suspense is the main character, a hero or a villain. And if you have a song like that in the first 10 minutes, there's already no suspense. Like you're rooting for Rustam the entire time, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's the hero of the movie. And here, it's leaving it a little bit more open. That's what I like about it, is that you're not exactly sure who's right, who's wrong, who's the villain, who's the hero. And over the course of the story, it seems like you're going to be flip-flopping a little bit based on the moral actions that people are taking to fight for their argument, their side, their mission.
Yeah.
You know, their, what am I trying to say here? Cause. And because of the, you know, I'm losing my dictionary here, my brain inner dictionary. Because of how precarious this situation is, you can see that some people will take measures that maybe aren't necessarily the most moralistic approach, shall we say. With all that in mind, I think that makes this profoundly more interesting at a glance, at a cursory glance. You know, on paper, I think that this could be more interesting than the film interpretation from Akshay Kumar. But that's at the outset, that movie wasn't like bad. It was still interesting to watch. But I think that this will definitely expand the story much, much deeper than Rustam was able to achieve.
Well, I think that is also because of the medium that they're doing this in. This is, I think, going to be a web series. So there is much more scope to enter into the story much more deeply and to explore it from different sides. What's really interesting to me is that this story appears to have been something that was very sensationalized at the time. And obviously, even 50 plus years later, it still grips the imagination of the country that multiple like movies, web series, whatever, have been made of this story. I just find that really fascinating, especially that whole thing of different factions kind of trying to get their point across and using the main character, using him as kind of the poster boy for whatever their cause is. The thing that was so fascinating to me was just the picking of the jury and trying to get the right number of Parsis or the more Hindus, but like a specific type of Hindu. What does that even have to do?
It informs their perspective.
With the case.
It informs which way they would sway. I mean, that's a very common practice.
No, I know it's a very common practice, but like this whole...
The specificity of religion was interesting
religion thing just wasn't a part of Rustam at all. So it's obviously something that kind of struck different people in the country in a variety of different ways.
That's ultimately what I'm trying to say, which is Rustam was a little bit more surface.
Yeah.
And this feels like it's it is going deeper. So now that I've said all of that positive stuff, well, there's one more thing I want to add, which is, and this is a little biased, but SumeetVyas is just, he's a friend, right? And so it's just awesome to see him do different things. Like I haven't seen him do a drama like this before. I mean, he did do Ribbon, and that was a dramatic film. This is definitely different from anything else I've seen from him, so I'm just like, yay. I love seeing him, obviously, you know? My negative critique, which is just a minute one because I can't really fully commit to this thought without watching the show, but at a glance, it feels like it's a little bit melodramatic. And that's my only concern, my only apprehension walking in. I don't know, because I'm watching this without the full context of the scene, and sometimes that support helps to make sense of why they're behaving that dramatic in the moment, right? But at a glance, cut, back to back, everyone's like at the top of like their emotional, you know, exactly.
Yeah.
They're so emotional, it starts to feel melodramatic, and that's the only thing that's making me concerned at the outset. But even with that, I would totally watch this just to get this interpretation of the story, you know, just to learn more about this. Because even if it's not 100% accurate, you're still learning something about that story. It makes you more inspired to go and read the Wikipedia article,
Yeah.
which in itself is also not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Citations needed. It's interesting to say the least. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, like, the reason why people's emotions are so heightened is because it's something that feels very personal. After listening to you talk and kind of letting everything simmer for a minute, I think I'm kind of understanding that whole women's story because, you know, she's a woman that kind of took control of her sexuality, I suppose, by having an affair, which is something that you don't do. She would be considered like property, right? She's her husband's wife. So she can't have, I mean, you shouldn't if you're married, like you just shouldn't.
Yeah, this is a slippery hole. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
I don't know.
I want to see where
just
this
like-
goes. Now I'm intrigued.
Well, it's just like the reason why people are getting so emotional is because that's something that resonates really strongly. She's a married woman. She shouldn't be having an affair.
Right.
That dirty hoe.
Right.
And so there's that angle. I don't even know where I'm going with this.
I'm
completely lost
now you're giving me blue balls. Where are you going with this? Like, I need to understand where this is going. Like, what's the trajectory of your statement?
The trajectory is that she's doing something that was not cool and like
That's not acceptable.
frowned upon,
Okay.
unacceptable, taboo
Right.
by having an affair. But in doing so, she was kind of being a powerful woman. She just did what she wanted.
I think this is one of those, and I don't mean this in a negative way whatsoever. I think this is one of those feminist ideas I just don't get yet. Sometimes they say, you know, being a stripper or a prostitute is women controlling their sexuality and taking the power back.
Or
in their
like women
sexuality.
in porn.
Yeah, same thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
That's my statement. That's my response every time. I was like, I don't get that, but okay. I'm not going to say you're wrong just because I don't understand it. All I'm going to say is I don't understand it, and that's where we're going to leave this for now.
Even just me trying to articulate
Trying
it,
to
I'm
navigate
not
these murky
even
waters.
fully able to do that. But it was just a thought that I had where I was like, oh, yeah, this is a woman who was like, oh, I'm not under my husband's control. I'm going to do this thing. And that's what made people angry, is because women are not supposed to do that.
Yeah, okay, so let me give my interpretation on what you're saying then.
Right.
So basically the idea is that if a man were to cheat, well, you know, boys will be boys kind
Yeah.
of thing. But what if a woman cheats? How dare she?
Yeah, how dare
And
she?
so
And
there's all-
everyone's so
Yeah,
heightened.
there's all this criticism being directed at her when it's like, you wouldn't do that with a guy. Why are you doing that with a woman?
Yeah, if it was a guy, you would just
Kind of look the other way.
Look the other way
As
and be
many
like,
as many have for
that's-
centuries.
Yeah, that's just what men do. No big deal.
Okay, gotcha.
Did he come home? All
Right. I think I get ultimately what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
Okay.
it didn't come out. I'm not very good at expressing my thoughts in a very coherent way at the minute. Like, I have them. But I'm like, oh, I'm having a hard time with this thought business.
So the take home is if you cheat, then you're taking back the power as a woman.
I don't know.
I'm kidding.
I think that's just
kidding.
why people are angry.
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah, because it's just culturally, and not even just culturally, I think across the board around the world, if you're married and you cheat, especially if it's a woman cheating, that's really, really bad.
Well, I mean, okay, to sort of put this in perspective, if you ever go back and watch, is it Walk the Line with the Johnny Cash film? Yeah. One of the things they bring up in that film, Reese Witherspoon's character, who I don't remember the real life version, what's her name? That person, that singer.
June Carter? I don't know.
It might have been, but she gets divorced and it's national headlines, and it just wasn't a good look at that time.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy getting divorced, that's okay, he'll get married again. But a woman getting divorced was very frowned upon.
Yeah.
And the movie explores that a little bit, because you see the way people respond to Reese Witherspoon in the film and how they look at her differently now that she's a divorced woman. That's the only thing I can kind of sort of compare it to, where there's these double standards that exist or existed. It's less so now, but it's still kind of there's still the legacy of it. I think what you're ultimately getting at is the double standard thing and just the widespread impact of that double standard. The feminist movement there, and I mean feminist in a neutral way, not in a negative way. The feminist movement there was an effort to take that apart, basically. I mean, my interpretation off your interpretation.
Yeah,
and then
and also,
trying to reinterpret it.
Yeah, just reinterpreting, but just also like that sense of ownership.
Right.
Towards women.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Because we all know that women own men, not the other way around. Hello, people. We're going to end this video now. Thanks so much for hanging out. Check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media. Check out the Jabster if you feel like doing that. Internet. On the internet. Instagram, Twitter, all those good things. And subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you get notified every time we drop another frickin' video so you don't miss out on the notifications, etc. Check out our other reactions, reviews, short films, vlogs, interviews, and random videos. I'm Jaby Koay. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.